Welcome to RecRoomWorld. Here is a quick video showing how our Funtime arcade cabinets play. I've had a request to go over some of the games that are included and how they play. As you can see, we have quite a few different arcade cabinet models. The one on the right is our arcade racing cabinet that comes with 107 different racing games in one. Basically, it features a steering wheel and pedals, and it literally has arcade and console games integrated in one. The one in the middle, which is the one I'm going to be showing gameplay on, is our classic arcade upright cabinet. This is the 43-inch, the largest unit that we sell. As you can see, it has two control panels available for it, interchangeable control panels. The control panel you see on the left side is the 4-player version that literally can easily be swapped out for the 2-player control panel that is currently on the unit. So they pull out, and all you need to do is unplug the USB cable from the PC by opening up the front coin door, and you can swap them within a minute's time. So depending on what you're trying to achieve, if you're looking to play Golden Tee, for example, of course you want the 2-player control panel with the trackball to be on there because you need the trackball for that game. And if you have a party and you want to play games, 4-player enabled games like NBA Jam or The Simpsons or X-Men, then you want to have the 4-player control panel that is featured here, as you can see. They're identical in size, so they're easy to swap. You pull it straight up and out and replace them as needed. This here is our Pedestal console unit. This has a permanent 4-player control panel with the trackball integrated. This here is our optional spinner knob. There are certain games like Arkanoid, Pong, racing games that need this spinner knob. You can have 1 or 2 spinner knobs. So if you had the second one like this, it would be featured right in this area right here. Overall, the quality of our cabinets is unsurpassed. We use thick 3/4-inch MDF melamine treated boards, and as you can see on this video, the unit that I'm going to be demonstrating that says Classic Arcade, the 43-inch upright cabinet, does not have any artwork on it yet. So it's really up to you what choice of artwork you want. This is a good example of an Ohio State artwork design that we created for one of our customers. We have a large format printer here, as you can see, and our specialty is to custom design artwork for people to their liking. We have a ton of pre-existing artwork that you can select from, but of course you can also ask us to modify and adjust characters and the wording that is displayed. Another important feature that I need to mention that not very many people are aware of, that you need to be looking out for, are what we call 4-way, 8-way joysticks. We feature them on all of our products. As you can see, the switch plate here allows you to pull the tab out from 8-way mode and pull it over like this and push it back in. And now we're in 4-way mode. What does that mean? That means that games like Pac-Man that were designed to be played with a 4-way joystick, meaning up, down, left, right motion only, can be played exactly the way they were supposed to be played without causing trouble when you push at an angle, and Pac-Man doesn't know what to do and gets stuck if that was the case. So if you are going to be in 4-way mode, I think this is the 4-way mode, you can't go at an angle. It will not let you. If you are in 8-way mode for games like Street Fighter, NBA Jam, and the likes, more modern games, then diagonal motion is also enabled. So that's kind of the difference right there. And you want that on a Multicade because with 4,000 some games, you will have quite a few games that are only going to work well if you have 4-way mode enabled. Another standard feature on our classic upright cabinets is the keyboard tray that we incorporate. Unlike some of our competitors, we use a railing system here that is high quality. You can see how that slides in and out really nicely. You have plenty of room here to put your keyboard, mouse, and subwoofer extension. This is where you would go in and you can adjust your sound level. You can even put a headset, plug it into the front, or switch the sound on or off altogether. So that's standard, comes with every upright classic cabinet that we sell. You may be asking, why do I need a keyboard and mouse, a tray? Well, it's very simple. These Multicades are running Windows 10 Professional, fully licensed versions. And as such, these units can receive and install any Windows-based games or software for that matter. And having access to a standard computer layout, keyboard, mouse is important in that situation. Now, most of the arcade games do not require this. And in fact, when you close the tray, your mouse here, your trackball acts as your mouse when you are in Windows, as well as our mouse left and mouse right buttons up on top. We also feature an exit button, a pause button, and menu and select to configure each game to your liking so that the buttons are doing exactly what you want them to do. Another nice feature on our new cabinet models is the fact that we round everything off slightly. Here, the front of these control panels are slightly rounded. Same here on the sides. I can show you the top. The top of our cabinets are slightly rounded. We also have a clean-cut bezel around the monitor that is precisely cut to encase the monitor size. We do not use glass or plexiglass in front of our screens, especially not when you consider playing games like Golden Tee, where you may slip and hit that glass. So in this case, you have access to the monitor to clean it and also prevent any damage. So let's talk a little bit about optional upgrades on our cabinets. Most everything you need to get started and to play is included by default, including the 5-inch high-quality speakers up on top here with a Logitech subwoofer, like I mentioned. The only thing that we offer as upgrades are LED buttons and also LED backlit trackballs. So what you see here with the trackball being backlit and these primary buttons being backlit, that is a slight upgrade fee. But typically you would just have the standard buttons like the ones you see here. If you choose to go this route where all your buttons are lit up pretty much, so the top row buttons are lit up and your primary buttons are all lit up, that's slightly more expensive. The spinner knob, like I mentioned before, that's an upgrade. But that's only needed if you are into racing games or into games, the few games, there are like 30, 40 games that exist that were made for spinner knobs only, like Tempest, Arkanoid, and the likes. If that doesn't interest you, then you do not need the spinner knobs at all. So that's kind of the reason why we created those as an optional upgrade and not part of the cabinet price. Other upgrades include light guns and holsters. So that would be another one. So for the spinner knobs, we also offer an optional upgrade, which is our mini wheel. So what happens here is you can remove this knob and this mini wheel will literally just push down on it. And that's going back to what I said earlier for racing games. If you are into racing games, you can have one or two of these spinner knobs. So you can race against each other on games like Super Off-Road Racing, or any racing games that support 2 players. So now let's talk about the software and that we pre-install in our cabinets. First of all, just a side note, the software is not unique to us. We do not sell the software per se. The only reason there's a difference in price between software versions and upgrades is because the hard drives needed to install the software is different. So if you go with our basic cabinet price, you will get the entire Arcade Classics collection. This is the category that we're currently positioned on. And we're talking around 3,500 to 4,500 games. It depends on the release. And of course, as we go on, more and more games are being added. But currently we're around 4,000 games. So these Arcade Classics, some people claim that they're including 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 games. Don't be fooled, because what they're basically talking about is different versions of the same exact game made for different countries, all being counted as an individual game. So we don't do that. The way we configure our system and our software is everything that you will see on your screen will be individual games that are non-duplicated games. So that's important for you to realize when you shop around and you all of a sudden see someone advertising a lot more games than what we are indicating here. It's not different. Nobody has different software. There are only really two major providers of Hyperspin and the software out there that is being kept up to date. And we use a guy here in the United States that is always on the latest release, and we try to upgrade our software every other year with our cabinets. So when that happens, you can upgrade as well. We will announce it, and you can send in your hard drive, and we will basically replace it with the latest and newest version. So that's as far as software is concerned. Now, like I said before, we have a console upgrade available. That means that in addition to the arcade classics that we just talked about with 4,000 games, you can upgrade to two different versions of our console edition software. The first version includes a bunch of console emulators, such as all the Nintendo, Sega, Atari emulators, ColecoVision, you name it, Game Gear, Game Boy. There's a full list of that I can make available. So that's the 6 terabyte drive. Then the 8 terabyte drive expands on that somewhat more, where everything else that we just talked about, arcade games and consoles, are included, but also PlayStation 1, 2, and 3. And when I say console emulators, I mean not just the emulators, but also the associated games for each of these platforms. So that's quite interesting. And we also have pinball games that come preloaded on these systems. We have a Jukebox that is also installed and available with music preloaded. So there's a lot of stuff going on here that requires quite a bit of hard drive space. So depending on which version you decide to pick for yourself, the price will vary. But by default, included in every, with the base price, you will always get all the arcade games. You will get the Jukebox and several other things like the Dragon's Lair and Space Ace collections and so on. All right, so Hyperspin is the front end that is most popular. And as you can see, it literally is a big spinning wheel with a bunch of different categories, right? So let's start at the top here, which is MAME. MAME stands for Multiple Arcade Machine Emulator. This is where all your arcade games are located. Once I go in here, you will have individual games that are going to be shown with a small video preview. And it's a ton of games, as you can see. Hunchback, it's nicely presented. And each one of these games, depending on which, like this is a Street Fighter game, for example. Each one of these games is available. You just push your primary button and it loads it up.
Loading complete.
It initializes just like the original arcade games did in the past. So some games will start up quickly. Some may need a half a minute to a minute. It depends on the machine and how they used to initialize. So here you go. This is your Street Fighter game. This is what it looks like. Now, of course, depending on the game, it may or may not fill up the entire screen. But if it doesn't fill up the entire screen, that you will have these black borders on the side, which is perfectly fine. That's the way the original machine used to format the game, so you do not want to stretch this. But it is available. You can go in and stretch this. So if you hit Menu and you go down to Video Options, you have the ability to change this. See how I just stretched it by hitting the pixel aspect 12:7 back and forth. You can go to standard resolution and you can go down and stretch it to your liking. So those are options that are easy to get into and make quick adjustments to. Once you've done those changes, the system will remember them for the future. So as you can see, I've kind of stretched it now and it's a little bit bigger. So this is the Street Fighter game. Let's jump out. There's an exit button here. And you're back on the wheel, and you can continue going back and forth on that wheel. And each game, like I said, beautiful templates, beautiful video preview. To go and jump to a specific game, you have the option of holding your joystick for 3 seconds to the right, and then you basically can go letter mode and jump around. So if we wanted to go to Galaga, for example, you would go to G, there, hit your button, and it will start at the G. So it will go, it's going to be really easy to find Galaga and start it up. All right, so if I want to start Galaga again, you just hit your primary button here, which is what I'm about to do. It loads up the game. It initializes, like I said, like the original machine. Galaga used to take a few seconds, as you can see, and that's perfectly fine. And also Galaga is going to be played only in the middle section, but since this is a large 43-inch high-definition 4K display, it's going to be very large. It's going to be bigger than the original game actually used to be. Adding coins is easy. You can just hit the coin 1 button here and get the game started with the player 1 button. Once the game starts and you play, remember, this is one of those games that was 4-way mode joystick enabled, so you want to be in 4-way mode, so you only go left to right, and it feels just like the original arcade game. I mean, it's really awesome. I can't even say enough. There are no words to describe these multicades, to be honest with you. It's really awesome to be able to relive everything that we used to play back in the arcade days. So now I'm going to jump out by hitting the exit button. If you want to save high scores on some of these games, Galaga, Miss Pac-Man, some of these games did not have high score save on the originals. There is a function called the save state load and save state save here on these multicades on Hyperspin. What that enables to do is take a snapshot in time of the game, so it will remember your high scores where you left off, and it will continue where you left off when you restart the game the next time around, and that's the best way to keep high scores. All right, so now let's go to favorites. What I just showed you is a big wheel with thousands and thousands of games, so that's certainly interesting, and it takes a long time to go through this. But if you wanted to add a game to favorites, all you have to do is push the middle button here on the middle row, and it has a favorites section inside of Hyperspin. This game, Gapless, for example, that we're on right now, is already under the favorites section because it says remove from favorites. I could remove it by hitting the button, and then it jumps back and says add to favorites. But in this case, this game, I do want it in my favorites, so I'm going to push add to favorites again, and I'm going to go view all my favorites. That's going to present a much smaller wheel that has games that everybody would recognize, right? Donkey Kong, obviously. Games like Dig Dug. Centipede, obviously a game that you would play with your trackball. Burger Time, etc. So you have all of these games here. Tempest is a game that requires a spinner knob to play properly. Doesn't mean you can't play it with the joystick, but it's going to be much harder to get the high score with just the joystick. All right, so I'll show you what Miss Pac-Man looks like and when we load it and we play this game.
Loading complete.
Here we are. I'm going to add some coins. Now, something that's interesting about these multicades that you should know is you can see you have a player 1 side and a player 2 side here on the control panel. For games like Miss Pac-Man that used to be single player cabinets with 1 joystick, 1 button only. Actually, in Miss Pac-Man's case, there was no button, but just 1 joystick. You can set it up so that both sides on this control panel can be used to play the game. So for a right-hander or left-hander, that may be a better choice that way. So I'm going to start the game. And I'm in 4-way mode for this game so that I cannot make a mistake. I cannot go at an angle and get stuck here. So yeah, it's really a lot of fun. And it plays exactly, like I said, like the original, because the code, these what they call ROMs, the code is exactly the same as the original game. So you are really reliving and replaying everything that you used to play. In the arcades, I mean. All right, so this is Miss Pac-Man. I'm going to exit now. All right, so Centipede is one of the all-time favorites that people always want to see. So I'm going to load it up.
Loading complete.
Centipede works with the trackball, of course. So let's add a few coins here and let's get it started. Just to show the gameplay on Centipede. If I'm any good at it, of course. I think I may be in trouble here. Let's go up here. See if I can catch him. Oh, no. All right. See if I can get it this time. And remember what I said earlier, you can reprogram the buttons to be anywhere here. So the shooting button doesn't have to be in one position only. You can have it propagated across a ton of buttons on here so that left-handed players can push on the two-player side as well. Oh, I think this could go my way. All right, great. All right, so I'm going to quit this game now. And remember what I said about the save state. You can hit that combination and save it so that your high scores are preserved. All right, so I wanted to show you Golden Tee 2006. That's the latest version that's currently on these cabinets. Year after year, they add more games and newer versions of games. Like this year, we added a game like Star Wars Trilogy that was never there before. This particular game here, all you have to do is hit coins, and then go in, and we can start the game here. You can select your courses. There we go. Insert a few more coins. There we go.
We're here at Pine Meadow on a drizzly, damp afternoon.
So selecting the different clubs is just a matter of rotating like this, and then back and through. So it plays exactly like the original. If you want to do a flyby preview, there you go, you have a button that does that. You can also rotate left and right to adjust.
Boomerang time. Number one trying to birdie. The lead.
Yeah, so we include Golden Tee all the way, I think from 1990 all the way to 2006. So all of those versions are included. This happens to be the newest versions.
Number one. A nice spot on the fairway.
Something else that's interesting to know is if you hit your menu button here on the control panel and you go into the settings of this game, you can go down to analog controls, hit select, and in here you have the trackball Y sensitivity setting set to 40 right now, which means that if you want the trackball to be more sensitive, you find it too hard to accelerate through your swing, you can just change the setting to 50, for example, or 60 even, and then it's going to take less effort here on the trackball to play this game. All you have to do is hit you also have dip switch settings on all the games. Those are settings that will affect things like how many lives do you get per game, how many coins does it take per game, when is your bonus life. So it depends on the game, of course, what the dip switches will allow you to do. And the video options, like I mentioned before, you go in here, you can change the aspect ratio. You can be in 1:1, or you can be in 4:3, like I had it stretched. So 1:1 is kind of more the original, the way they used to have it on the cabinet. So I'm going to leave it like this, and remember what I told you, it will remember that setting. You do not have to go in there every time and change it. I prefer it stretched. I mean, that's just my personal preference. So I'm going to exit now, and we'll go to another game. All right, so I'm also going to show you an NBA Jam, what that looks like on this. I've just stretched this as large as this game can be stretched, and now we're just going to add some coins. Start. Of course, I cannot show you playing this with 4 players, but it is 4-player compatible, and when you put our control panel, 4-player control panel on this, you can play with 4 people.
Tonight's matchup, Suns versus Clippers. Here's the tip. Batting. Berkeley from downtown. Marley rejected.
There you go. So,
Batting.
of course, there you go. I stole the ball.
From long range.
That didn't work.
Marley grabs the rebound. He's heating up.
All right.
Batting.
Also, by the way, there are 2 different versions of NBA Jam on here. I think there's an NBA Jam Extreme and the standard NBA Jam that we're playing right now.
Marley. Nothing but net.
All right, so that's NBA Jam. Oh. All right, so this is just your Windows desktop. This unit runs Windows 10 Professional, fully licensed. As you can see, we have the Hyperspin front end that we just went into, and there's also a MAME front end, which is more of a classical front end that we include. It has the same, it's just for arcade games, okay? The console games are not on here. And the advantage of this interface is pretty much the fact that you have favorite categories for every single family member. In Hyperspin, you only have 1 favorites category. Here you have 6 of them. You can actually add more than 6 if you want. You can rename this with the name of the family member. That way you know exactly who it is. All you have to do is when you are on all available games and you want it, for example, Neo Bomberman to be added to your favorites, you just hold your mouse button on your control panel and then drag it with your trackball, which acts like your mouse, and drop it into your favorites category. So now it's right in here. You can also easily remove it by right-clicking and saying remove from folder right here. So that's how easy it is to add games, favorite games in and out of these categories. We have the top 300 favorites category in here, and as you can see, each one of these games is shows not only the preview screen here of the game itself, but also the flyer, what the cabinet used to look like, the hardware, the marquee, which is what's overhead, your PCB board, and information about the game. That's not something that Hyperspin offers you. This is something that MAME UI will provide. Again, identical games for arcade games in Hyperspin as well as here under the MAME UI. I personally like to go into MAME UI if I want to go into a game faster and if I want to have each individual family member have their own favorites. It loads the exact same games. Let's go and launch some of the Hyperspin. I'll show you the console games and the categories that exist. So, as I told you before, it's a big wheel. When you get away underneath MAME, you'll have subcategories to MAME. So AAE, Cave, Atari, Capcom, Konami, Midway, Namco, you name it. Neo Geo, Taito Classics. All of those are actually subcategories to MAME. These games are the exact same games that you will find in MAME, but if you just want to go into games that were made by Taito, you would go into this category, hit your primary button, and this is where it just shows games made by Taito. Okay, as you can see here, you can go through them. Some of them here. Tons of them. Jungle King was a very popular game. There we go. So I'm going to jump back one level. You just hit your exit button. And now this is a category with all the shotgun games. So if you opt for the light gun optional upgrade, this is where you will find all your gun-enabled games. So you have things like Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Time Crisis, the Versus Duck Hunt is on here. I mean, there are like, I think Area 51, who doesn't remember that game? Alien. Let's see what else is very popular here. Ghost Hunter, I think some people will remember right here. Oh, Jurassic Park. That's also another classic that everybody remembers as a light gun game. So I'm going to jump out of light guns. We'll keep going down. This is STV. That was a Sega video game system that they released. That's one of the consoles that's not included by default that you have to upgrade to. MAME, that's a category with nothing but Pac-Man games. If you go into that section, there are official and unofficial releases here of Pac-Man that you can see. All sorts of different versions. Of course, your classic Miss Pac-Man is right here, but then you have something called Miss Pac-Attack that never was released as an actual official arcade machine, but somebody messed around and created off versions of this game. So this is nothing but Pac-Man games. Under here we have a Windows-based Pac-Man Championship Edition DX game. That one requires to be played with your mouse, your actual mouse. So you would open up your keyboard tray and play with your mouse because it's a Windows-based game. It's more modern. Capcom Classics. These were Capcom consoles that were geared towards fighting games. So we have 3 of those. This is Capcom CPS 1, 2, and 3 here. So each one of them, if you go into them, has a ton of Street Fighter type games and different other types. Don't ask me, I'm certainly not able to tell you details about each game that's on this system. Alright, so this is CP. Next thing is Taito Type X. That's again requires a graphics card upgrade because it's more modern in nature and it's a PC based game system. There are PC games also included here. Again, graphics card needed. Same with the PC fighting games, like the latest Mortal Kombat X type games and so on. Those require more graphics power. Shmups stands for shoot 'em ups, and again these are also higher end, newer games. If you click on here, you'll see that there are tons of these. Some of them require graphics cards, some of them will play without. PopCap games. Who doesn't remember the Bejeweled classics? And if you go in here, some of these require mouse play, probably most of them. Chuzzle is included. You have things like Peggle, Plants vs. Zombies, and let's not forget about Zuma's Revenge here, one of my favorites. Again, you would just open up your keyboard here like this, pull out the keyboard, and you have your mouse available to play this game. Let's jump out of this. The next category down is Big Fish games, also PC based. The good old Doom category has the Doom game on it. And this is where the consoles start. So you have your Atari 2600 console, the Atari 7800, with all the associated games, of course, the Jaguar console, ColecoVision. I actually owned one of those, and that was the best you could get at the time to play Burger Time or Donkey Kong without it being the original, of course. The Vectrex unit, Daphne, who doesn't remember Dragon's Lair and Space Ace? Those are awesome games, and I spend way too much money on Dragon's Lair, I remember that. American Laser Games is again a shooting game category. Then here's where the Nintendo game starts. So that's the NES system, Super Nintendo, and Nintendo 64. These games, as you can see from the gamepad picture here, require a gamepad to play it. So you will not be playing that with the control panel. You will purchase, either you have your own or you can purchase from us wireless Xbox 360 controllers. I did say 360, I didn't say Xbox One. We did that on purpose so that it would not mess with people that currently have an Xbox One at home. So we use the older Xbox 360 wireless controllers that will work with the console games here. And again, console games is an upgrade. It's not included by default. You get all the arcade games, all 4,000, but if you want the Nintendo games, that's an upgrade. Same with the Game Boy games here. So you have Game Boy Color, Super Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and again, each one of these categories has all the games associated with these consoles. Sega Master System, Sega Mark III, Sega Genesis, and again, remember, these games are played with the control pad, but not with the control panel. Some of them can, like NES for example, can be played with the control panel because it had only directional keys and a few buttons. But as soon as it became a little bit more complex, and the gamepad had buttons on the back and top, that's when we decided to use the Xbox 360 controllers. This is the Dreamcast category, console category, Game Gear, PC Engine CD-ROM, TurboGrafx 16, TurboGrafx CD, PSP Minis, PSP PlayStation Portable, and this is a fun category. This is Pinball FX 2, and in our new release that we're about to come out with, you will also have Pinball FX 3. So when you click on this, you'll see that you can go into games like Marvel type pinball tables. This is the Doctor Strange pinball table. Fantastic Four, Ghost Rider, Guardians of the Galaxy, Iron Man. So I'll start Iron Man here, and when the game is up and running, I'll show you. All right, so this is the Iron Man Pinball FX 2 game.
Welcome, Mr. Stark.
This is your plunger here. Here we go. So you can program any button here to be your flippers, of course. Also, you have a view button that you can change and switch views from. So as you can see here, different views, different angles. And if you are in a close-up mode, it kind of follows the ball. Really a lot of fun. We do feature and sell a virtual pinball machine that actually improves, of course, the format of play. It's a full-fledged, full-size pinball machine with over 1,000 pinball games, but it has the format of an actual pinball machine and the buttons on the sides, of course, etc. We will have a different video for that one. All right, so I'm going to jump out of here. And you can see if I do jump out of here, and I'm using this as my mouse, and my mouse buttons here, exit, will take you back to the main menu, and you have all of these different games: South Park, Star Wars, Marvel games, Plants vs. Zombies, El Dorado, everything you can imagine, even some soccer-based games. Alright, so I know this has been a long video to show you everything that these cabinets can do. There's, like I said before, there are not enough words to describe how awesome these multicades are. The last category I wanted to show you is this jukebox category. You literally have a high quality speaker system here that's integrated with a subwoofer, and you can you have a directory on the D drive called Music, where you can add and remove MP3 files to your liking. We preloaded about 4,000 MP3 songs already for you to enjoy, but you can certainly create and modify that to your own liking. And this is, when I load this is a Windows-based program called Music Bee. And it's very simple to learn how to use Music Bee, because you just go to musicbee.com and they have a description of how to use this. But just to give you a quick preview here, if I hit one of these and I open up the cabinet, right now we have, it's pretty low volume. There we go. We can increase the volume down here, again with your mouse. And you can jump back out. Alright, so again, this is going to be the device that you want to switch on your Logitech subwoofer and adjust your sound. So I'm going to demonstrate that real quick. As you can hear, it gets pretty loud. And if you don't want to disturb anyone, you have your headset jack here. Alright. And then you can jump back out and you're back on your wheel. So I'm going to wrap this up by saying it's definitely worth the investment. There is something in here for anyone that enjoys gaming, the classic arcades. And if you have any questions, you want to see a specific game being played, just let me know. I'll take a quick video for you. But for now, we'll wrap it up, and I appreciate your time.